Do you want to be a smart basketball player? If so, you have to have a great mindset even when things aren't necessarily going your way. When it comes to fouls and referees, you have to have a really good understanding of what a foul is, as well as the mindset you need to have when it comes to bad calls. Today, I'm going to give you a better understanding of what a foul is in today's game of basketball and how to use that understanding to your advantage with referees. Let's jump in and discuss. Welcome back to Hard Smart Together. I'm Coach Dave. I'm here every week to help you become a better basketball player by teaching about the mindset, basketball IQ, and fundamentals that'll give you the edge to play better, to achieve your goals, and to enjoy the game even more. So today we are talking about how smart basketball players, high IQ basketball players, think about fouls, referees, bad calls, and especially when bad calls, things aren't going their way when it comes to bad calls during the flow of a game. So what's the mindset that you should have in those situations? And what's the mindset shift you should have towards fouls and referees that can make all the difference for you as a player and help you succeed on the court and really make a big difference for your team and your team's success? And really, as a smart player, you can help set the tone for how your team approaches fouls, bad calls, and referees. Now, before we dive in deep today, I want to share a free gift. I always have a free gift available for you for joining me today and your efforts on becoming a better basketball player. So I want to make a free gift available. It is 8 intangible skills. I've got a checklist of 8 intangible skills that you can use both on and off the court that are going to help you become a better player, help you become a better teammate, and help you stand out to coaches. So I make that available to you. I'll put the link below. It's simply hardsmarttogether.com/intangibles. Again, it's hardsmarttogether.com/intangibles. And those are in checklist form. Like I said, it's 8 intangible skills that you can use. It gives you some ideas on how to implement them and how to kind of practice those going forward. Off-season, great time to be practicing those skills. So mindset, we're going to talk about today. And let's talk about our mindset around referees. First, I want to just say being a referee is a hard job. And it is a job I would never want. I can't imagine how hard it is to be a referee. It's kind of a no-win situation. You don't get any wins. You are always pointing out things that somebody's unhappy with, some team, some player, some coach. Always unhappy with you. On the flip side, yeah, the other team and other coach and other player in that same instance might be happy with you, but somebody's always unhappy. And I used to have a saying. In all the years I've coached, no matter what level as a coach, I used to say, man, I can never be a referee because I'd have to go home and yell at myself. And so that was kind of my running joke when it came to referees. But I want us to recognize that referees are part of the game and bad calls are part of the game. So we're going to talk about a mindset shift or several mindset shifts that we're going to have around fouls, bad calls, and referees, and how are you going to use that mindset shift to your advantage. Okay? You're going to become, if you really shift your mindset when it comes to these things, you're going to become a much more mentally tough player. And you need to be a mentally tough player to be a smart basketball player, to be a high IQ player. So the first shift I want you to have when it comes to fouls and referees is It is your responsibility of a player. You have a responsibility to learn how to play in a way that you don't have to depend on referees, that you don't have to depend on game officials, that you depend on yourself, that you depend on your own fundamentals, your own mental toughness, your own basketball IQ, in order to affect the outcomes of games, okay? You never want to depend on referees. So we want to dive into a better understanding of what a foul is. So today, I'm going to give you another mindset shift, and that is a definition of what a foul is that might give you a better mindset when it comes to fouls. Okay, I want to give you a very specific definition. Get out your pen and paper, get ready to write this down, because this might be revolutionary to you when it comes to how you think about fouls. A foul is anything that looks like a foul to a referee and causes them to blow their whistle. I'm going to repeat that. A foul is anything that looks like a foul to a referee and has them blow their whistle. You notice I didn't say anything about actual fouls, actual contact. But if it looks like a foul, then it is a foul. Okay? Now, there are a lot of things that look like fouls that maybe aren't fouls. There are things that look like fouls that are fouls. So, in future videos, we'll get into maybe how to avoid fouls or how to draw fouls. But for now, I just want to use one example as something that 9 times out of 10 is going to look like a foul to a referee. It's always going to look like a foul. And that is reaching or slapping at the ball. If you reach or slap at the ball, you better assume that you're going to get called for a foul, because 9 times out of 10, that looks like a foul, and the referee is going to blow their whistle. So that's a great example of how you can kind of think about this definition. Okay? So again, foul is anything that looks like a foul and causes the referee to blow their whistle. Reaching, slapping, stop doing that, because that will always look like a foul to a referee. But there's bad calls. There's going to be bad calls in the game. So what are the 2 types of bad calls that we're going to talk about mindset shifts today? One is you get called for a foul that you either did not commit or you don't feel you committed. Okay? You got called for a foul. It was a bad call. Referee blew their whistle. It looked like a foul to them. We'll talk about how to approach that. But first we want to talk about the other bad call. And that bad call is a foul wasn't called when you feel you got fouled. Okay? So those are the 2 types of bad calls. So how can you be mentally tough when it comes to these 2 types of bad calls? Well, first of all, I want you to assume that there's going to be 8 to 10 bad calls a game. Just assume it. It is part of the game. As a smart, high IQ, mentally tough player, hey, I'm going into a game knowing there's going to be bad calls. So if I know there's going to be 8 to 10 bad calls, then, and I'm assuming it, they're not going to be as big of a deal to me when they happen, because I'm going to take responsibility for learning how to play and communicate with referees through those bad calls. Okay? You have to take responsibility as a player to not let those bad calls affect you, because they're going to happen. They're part of the game. They're part of the game for everybody. So there's a mental shift for you maybe. Maybe there's some light bulbs going off right now, like, oh, never thought of a foul being like that. And oh, yeah, that's right. There are a bunch of bad calls. I need to be mentally tougher when it comes to bad calls. So let's talk about you getting fouled and no whistle being blown. Okay? You need to play smart and strong in a way, use your fundamental skills and your basketball IQ to play in such a way that fouls do not affect you. Okay? They don't affect you, they don't bother you. You've got to assume that you're going to get fouled a lot and there not be calls. We talked about, 8 to 10 bad calls. Might be more, right? But you've got to assume on every play that you're going to get fouled. So let's use 2 examples to illustrate that and how you can use your basketball IQ as well as your fundamentals to play through those situations. One is ball handling. So if I assume I'm going to get bumped, people are going to reach, I'm going to get fouled, maybe get trapped and fouled a lot, I probably want to stay off the sidelines. Because if I assume I'm going to get bumped and I go to the sideline and I get bumped and I go out of bounds and the referee doesn't blow their whistle for the call, they just call me out of bounds and the other team gets the ball, then, why would you go to the sideline? You've got to play in such a way that you don't need to rely on referees. Now, you can expand that out into all kinds of situations in the game, but that's why you have to continue to build your foundational fundamentals, being strong with the ball, having good, ball handling skills, having a strong position, as well as your basketball IQ of, why would I go to the sideline? I'm probably going to get bumped out of bounds, and the referee, I'm not going to rely on them to make the call. So there's one example. Another example of that is on shots. You've got to go up with, in every time you shoot, you've got to assume you're going to get fouled, but you don't assume that the referee is going to make that call. You don't rely on the referee to make that call for you and to affect the game. You rely on your foundational fundamentals. Oh, I've got to have a strong base. I've got to go straight up. I've got to be strong. I've got to fall through. All the things that are foundational to having a good shot and having a strong base behind the shot, you've got to just assume you're going to be fouled. You're going in for a drive. You don't want to go in, in a crowd off of 1 foot, off balance, waiting for the referee to make a call. You want to go in strong, off of 2 feet, power up through the fouls. And if the call comes, that's great. But you've got to play in such a way that you don't rely on referees to make those calls for you. That is working on great fundamentals. That is working on mindset. That is working on your basketball IQ. The other instance that we talked about being bad calls are when you get called for a foul that you either didn't commit or don't feel you committed. Happens all the time, right? You're going to assume, now you've got a better, mental toughness around bad calls. You're assuming that bad calls are going to come. And so what can you do? What approach can you take when you get called for these fouls? I see the wrong approach all the time. Please do not watch these stars of the NBA and the WNBA and, these professionals who are training everyone on how to interact with referees by complaining, being demonstrative, arguing. These are not smart plays. These are not high IQ plays, because I've never seen a referee go, "You're right. Not only was that a bad call, but I'm taking that off the board. Side out. Here you go. Here's the ball. Take it back. Yes, you just yelled at me, argued with me." No, these referees are people. So the only thing that arguing can do is affect you negatively, probably later on in the game when you do not get the benefit of the doubt of a call either coming your way or, going against you. You want to interact with the referees in this instance in a better way, for 2 reasons. One, you don't want to get called for those fouls anymore. But 2, you want to use it to your advantage. You want to be strategic with how you interact, because later on in the game it might matter. So, how should you interact with referees during bad calls? It's very simple. Remember back to what we talked about, the definition of a foul. The definition of a foul, if it looks like a foul and the referee blows their call or blows their whistle, it's a foul. So the way you should interact with referees when you feel you got a bad call against you is simply ask them, what did I do? And then you know what? Don't do that again. It might be, and they'll tell you, if you ask them in that way, you're not arguing. And when they tell you what you did, well, you reached. Well, don't just then go, yeah, but I got all ball. No. Stop reaching. You didn't go straight up. You didn't get to the spot in time. Your feet weren't set. Whatever the case might be, listen to the information they gave you, because that to them looks like a foul in that game. And so in that game, don't do that thing anymore. Don't do it anymore. That is how to interact with referees. And then you might be surprised, because later in the game, at a critical moment, it could go either way. You might get a call or have a call not called against you just because you interacted with that referee in a respectful manner and you made adjustments based on the way they were calling the game. So I can't believe to me, it's not a very smart play to argue with these referees, especially every single time. I'll tell you what, if you were this respectful the entire game, and then at the end of the game there was a really bad call, and you maybe kind of let the referee know, and then maybe you get the call next time. But it's like the boy that cried wolf, to be every single call be arguing, or the new one, because college, high school, every player, youth players even, see the pros with the, review it. They don't even realize that maybe in high school they're not going to go to the tape and review it. In college, their coach doesn't have the green lantern to light to review a call, but that's the new way of arguing. Review it. Well, stop arguing. Start being strategic. Start being a smart player. Start being a mentally tough player. You know what a foul is now. You know how to interact with referees. You know there's going to be bad calls. You're assuming it. You are hopefully learning how to play in a way that doesn't rely on referees. It relies on you, your mindset, your fundamentals, your basketball IQ. So, hopefully this helps. Hopefully this helps you when it comes to your mindset around things not going your way when it comes to fouls, referees, and bad calls. You've got to use your mindset to your advantage. Look at this as your advantage over the other players that are out there letting these bad calls affect their game, letting their interactions with these referees affect the game negatively. And this is another area that you have an edge over them. This is another area that you have elevated your game, elevated your mindset. So again, I always want to thank you for all the likes, all the comments, all the forwards. If you know somebody, a player, a coach, a parent, somebody who has a problem with bad calls maybe sometimes and maybe doesn't react the right way, feel free to forward this to them. Forward this video to them. Maybe it can help them as well. And until next week, remember, play hard, play smart, and most importantly, play together. See you next week.